the topic for today is essentially be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. I wanted to make this video because we did a couple of videos on exposure therapy, pushing and pushing and pushing and getting yourself out there. It's very normal. It's very normal. You first have this social anxiety issue. The first thing you're going to want to do is face your fears and push and get yourself out there and get yourself out there. Expose. More public speaking, talking to more strangers, hanging out with people more. And the more you do that, the more you realize things stay the same, right? The more you do that, the more it feels like you got this, you're carrying around this 100-pound ball and chain around with you. And you realize very quickly, social anxiety, it's a different kind of beast. And so we made a couple of videos on exposures, pushing yourself out there to stop torturing yourself, and another video on, for example, feeling like you're good for a while and then getting triggered again and just not knowing where things are coming from and going back to those old feelings and regressing back into isolation and feeling defeated. And I wanted to make this video to just round out this discussion and give you my overall perspective on this, because I know you're working hard. I know you're disciplined. I know you're grinding. I know you're getting out there. You got a lot of ambition. There's a lot of things that you want to accomplish in the world. Social anxiety, though, if there's one thing I've learned for social anxiety, it's a different kind of beast. You know it's a different kind of beast, okay? And if I could put it into one word, the most powerful thing that you need to overcome social anxiety, which is the opposite of exposure therapy, the one word is compassion. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to be gentle with yourself. And you have to give yourself some grace when you have a quote-unquote setback. I don't see it as a setback. I don't believe in setbacks. I believe when you get triggered, it's trying to show you something from your past that needs your attention. But anyways, giving yourself a lot of grace and a lot of space to get back up and go again in a more conscious way. So one of the things that I've learned, and believe me, this is coming from somebody who did the exposures. I used to get up. I remember I used to get up and I would plan to talk to 20 to 30 strangers a day. I would start off at that time I was working corporate. I would go to the SkyTrain. I was commuting to work to downtown Vancouver from the suburbs. And I would take the SkyTrain in and the bus in. And I would start the day just trying to talk to people. Go up to strangers. Hey, what? Do you have the time? And I remember, one of the first times I was trying it, it was, this older lady. And I was like, do you have the time? And she turned and she just started walking away. And I got so sensitive and I got in my head. And I was like, oh my goodness. Oh, I just hated myself. I was like, can't believe, what is wrong with me? Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to listen to you. And looking back, it was an older Chinese woman. She's probably I don't know, I want to say she was 60 years old. Maybe she just didn't hear me. Maybe she didn't speak the language. I don't know. But at that time, that's how difficult that was for me. That's how hard I was on myself. That's essentially what I'm trying to say is, that's how much I used to hate myself. That's how much I used to feel shame on the inside. And my resolution at the time for trying to love myself was trying to get out and try to talk to as many people at the time. Oh, go to the SkyTrain again. Oh, hey, how long do you usually come to this stop? Oh, what are you doing today? Just having these meaningless surface level discussions just to prove that I could have some sort of personality, that I could have some sort of influence over people, that I wasn't this invisible person walking around, and I just really needed to prove that to myself because I hated myself so much. And what I want to say to you, that's a very, very harsh way to treat yourself. Looking back at myself, I see this guy he was so troubled. He's extremely troubled. He hated himself. He didn't know where he belonged. He didn't have, we're going to talk about this in a little bit because I want to tell you a story about my daughter. But he didn't have a secure base in the world. He had no one to talk to. He had nobody to keep it real with. Didn't have the emotionally available parents. Didn't have the friend group where he could kind of be vulnerable. There was no safe place in the world, essentially. So if he opened up in any of the circles that he was in, he would have gotten shamed. He would have gotten judged. Now, I want you to understand this, okay? Because nobody makes lasting change. For as long as I've been doing this, I just had a discussion with my students again last week, and they were sharing some incredible wins because they're living completely different lives. And it also came down to that one word, compassion. Everything came down to compassion. Why? Because you cannot make permanent changes in your life by hating yourself. You cannot do that. You cannot hate yourself into improving. It just doesn't work like that. And if you're going too hard, I'm not saying exposures never have their place, but if you're going into trying to interact with somebody and your physical symptoms are so overwhelming, you're completely checking out, you're blanking out, you're almost having a panic attack, that is an act of self-hatred to me. I believe that's an act of self-hatred. Looking back at myself, I hated myself. I can see it very clearly. I see him. I see that guy. He's in his late 20s, going into his early 30s, even in his early 30s. Absolutely hated himself. I hope you don't. Neighbor's dog here is barking, but I hope that's not distracting. But absolutely hated himself. And now I'm getting distracted because I'm worried this dog's going to keep barking. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, there it goes again. Okay, so anyways, so I see him. He hates himself. He doesn't have a safe place in the world. What is his other option besides trying to go up and get some validation, like, to the world? I'm going to approach this person, approach that person. Please just tell me I'm not crazy. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. Please just have a conversation with me. Please give me the validation. Please let me know that I'm not defective. That's essentially what he was doing. But essentially it was making my anxiety worse. And the same goes for all of the students that I've worked with, the countless students that we've worked with by now. They all have this deep feeling like they're fundamentally flawed inside, like something's wrong with them. They don't feel worthy inside. And so they start going hard at these exposure therapies, hoping it's going to shift and make them feel worthy on the inside, and it does the opposite. Okay, so we had a student, I remember one of our students, beloved student of mine, man, just such an inspiring individual. He was in his late 60s, and he was a part of the CBT trials when they first came out, and obviously that didn't move the needle a whole lot for his social anxiety. He was still dealing with this overwhelming terror inside him. Like, walks out of his house, sees a neighbor, overwhelming terror. He's got to run the other way. Can't even have a conversation with his neighbor. And I remember one of the things that he had to work through is his mom. I'm going to bring this back to this story about my daughter here. His mom essentially threw him in the pool. Talk about exposure, right? His mom threw him in the pool when he was 2 years old, And I remember when we were working through that old memory, it was just sheer, just terror riveting through his body, riveting through his nervous system, utter panic just resonating. And the impact that it had, it just jacked up his nervous system to the point where wherever he would go, interacting with people, even on a daily basis, that anxiousness was there, that terror was there, the panic was there. And it wasn't until we were able to discharge that terror and that panic out of his nervous system that he was able to walk out of his door and see his neighbor. And instead of running this way, he could, okay, I'm gonna go have a conversation with my neighbor. And I wanna tell you about my daughter now, because I'm trying to think of when this was, but it would have been probably about, I'm thinking about 15, 16 months ago. And we were trying to get her into the tub, okay? And I was outside the tub. It's so you kind of see this full circle. I was able to help my student with it. Now it's time for my daughter to get into the tub. It's not a swimming pool. Similar vibe though. Rushing water, tub full of water. We're trying to put her in, and she is freaking out. The level of fear running through her, just panic. The level of fear, it's so overwhelming, kicking, wailing, screaming. She will not go into the tub. So again here, compassion, gentleness. Do I just throw her into the tub? I believe, as her dad, I believe this. I saw it with my student. I believe if I just threw her into the tub, I think that would have really impacted her life. I truly believe that. I truly believe the panic that she would have felt and the inability to regulate that effectively in that moment. She's a baby. She's a baby. She doesn't have the tools to do that. I think that would have dysregulated her nervous system for a lifetime. Because the panic, the fear, it would have set in. It would have wired her nervous system for utter panic for the rest of her life. So what did I have to do? I had to get in the tub with her. And so I get in the tub with her, I'm carrying her with her, and then she's starting to panic, but she knows I'm there with her. And I sit her down, and she's sitting with me. Okay, she's sitting with me. She starts getting interested in the water because I'm the secure base. This is secure attachment 101. If you have a secure base in the world, you can start to go explore, but you need the safe place to come back to. And so I see this unfolding in real time. She starts playing with the water. She's getting interested in it. Okay. Then I get her to slowly, maybe the next day, I'm pretty sure it was the next day, because this was over the span of a good week, right? So the next day, I get her to, let's get you to stand up a little bit, okay? And she's panicking. Okay, it's a little bit too much. Let's pull it back a little bit. And then she starts to stand, and then she starts to go up to the tap and starts playing with the water. And then after a little while, she'll go play with the water, then she'll come back to me. And then after a little while, she's diving into the water. She's fearless. She loves the water. Absolutely loves it. These days, she loves going in the tub. She starts crying. She starts wailing when it's time to take her out of the tub because she wants to spend more time in there. And the moral of the story is, I want you to ask yourself, at what point is it actually an act of self-hatred? At what point are you just perpetuating the self-hatred inside? At what point are you just torturing yourself so that you can feel worthy, so that you can actually feel like you like yourself inside? Because I had, this now the wheels are turning, and I'm thinking of this, another student, and this student was saying, well, so fixated on being more expressive. I want a certain personality. I really focused on the social situation. I gotta have that personality. I gotta have it. And so frustrated after when she couldn't get expressive, and just so frustrated with herself, hard on herself. I got triggered, and she's just so angry with herself. But very fixated, only wanted to work on the social situation. But then I suggested, I said, why are you placing so much importance on the social situation? And she's like, because it came out because I don't like myself. Well, maybe you need to shift focus onto the self-hatred and focus on why you hate yourself so much, instead of using social skills and social situations as yet another reason to beat up on yourself. And as another reason to try to convince yourself that there's something wrong with you so that you can hate yourself even more. Because that's a very, very addictive thing. Shame. Shame is one of the most addictive emotions that you can feel. Once you experience a drop of it, say from childhood, criticism, humiliation, not belonging, whatever's happened to you in your lifetime, it's a very addictive emotion to have in your body. What do I mean by that? Is you don't even need external drugs anymore. At a certain point, you don't even need external drugs. You don't need the porn. You don't need the fix outside, because you're so addicted to the self-hatred that's going on inside. That's how potent shame is. That's how strong that feeling is. That's how convincing that voice is that there's something wrong with you. And to bring this back here, right? The story about my daughter, she's fearless in the water. Fearless in the water. Loves the water. Doesn't want to come out of the water. But if we made it too intense, too fast, that could have ruined her experience with water for the rest of her life. That could have ruined, or not ruined, but that could have set up her nervous system and wired it in a certain way to the point where she could have had this anxious energy for her whole life, until obviously we had the proper intervention for it. But that could have truly impacted her life in a really serious way. So for you, for example, what I want to ask you is, where is your secure base? Where's your secure base? So you're getting out there, and you're doing the exposures and pushing yourself out there, massive adrenaline dumps, and you're pretty much dissociating in the middle of conversations. And when that happens and then the voice comes in and starts beating up on you, where's your safe place? Where are you getting compassion? Where are you getting love for yourself? Where are you getting some grace? Or is it just torture, beat up on myself, shame myself until I'm so depressed and isolated, I'm going to shame myself into going for another round, torture, and you get caught up in this cycle. So how can you take a more gentle path? And I know this is hard to take. I know you got so much ambition. There's so much you want to do in life. I get it. I'm not saying let that go. I'm not saying you got to give it up. Remember, my daughter's fearless in the water. And I want you to be fearless in life too. I don't want you giving two shits what people think. I want you putting yourself out there. But in the meantime, what is a more gentle way? What is a way that's not trying to hate yourself into having a better personality? Instead of trying to hate yourself into having a better personality and having too much panic, too much intensity to the point where it's doing damage to yourself and your self-esteem, what's a more gentle way that you can go about this? What is a more compassion? Remember, compassion is the key. What's a more compassionate way, a more compassionate trajectory for you overcoming social anxiety and this low self-esteem and this lack of self-worth? I'm going to end it off with this, okay? I'll leave you with this. I remember being in a work meeting. I remember my manager put me on the spot. I literally had a panic attack. I started to panic. I couldn't breathe. I started hyperventilating. I dissociated. I kind of checked out. She had to jump in. And I remember I approached her after the meeting. Here's what I did. This is what my old self did. This is the Rubin that hated himself. This is what he did. Very driven, had a lot of dreams, a lot of ambition. And I walked up to her, and right away she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize," because she knew I had this anxiety issue. She goes, "Oh, I'm really sorry about that." And I said, "No. I want you to do it more." I said, "I want you to do it more. Push me, keep pushing me, keep pushing me, keep pushing me." And literally what I'm asking for is, think about that. I'm asking to dissociate more. I'm asking to have more panic attacks. You could see the self-hatred, right? I remember when I actually started to do some good healing though, and do some good work on a more gentle and more compassionate path. I remember sitting in a work meeting. Work meetings were a complete war zone for me. I was just in my head. I was waiting to be put on the spot. Couldn't be in my body, feeling unsafe, physical symptoms. But I remember I had this therapist. She gave me these grounding techniques. Okay, so basically what you would do is you would rock on your feet. You'd rock on your feet like this, to the front, and then very slowly you would go to the back of your heel. This is what's happening. This is essentially what I was doing underneath the table. So you'll get what I'm saying, is because everybody's just being normal and articulating their ideas, and here's Rubin over here dealing with the whole social anxiety, trying to rock on his feet and regulate his emotions and just trying to be present. And I'm not saying, me personally, my personal philosophy on grounding is it's still a crutch and you want to overcome it, but at least in that work meeting, it allowed me to be present. So it allowed me to be present. It allowed me to make an incremental improvement. So the big overarching goal. So the Hail Mary would have been I'm going to go from being dissociated and in my head and to being this completely expressive, assertive guy, articulating all his ideas and being fully expressive. No, it was incremental. The change that I noticed, I was doing my thing, regulating under the table, the little secret nobody knows, right? You know how that is. And I remember for the first time in my life, I felt present in the work meeting. And I couldn't believe it. It was magic. It was absolute magic. And I remember, as one of my students put it, he was sharing a win the other day. It's like being in a 4K video. And I remember just looking around, and I had this stupid smile on my face. I'm like, looking with so much enthusiasm, excitement. Everyone's talking. I'm not saying a thing. I'm not saying anything. But I remember just taking in the moment where, oh my goodness, this is what it feels like to be present. This is what normal people experience. Jeez, you lucky bastards! This is what you had the whole time, and I'm finally getting to experience this. Wow! And I remember just looking. This could be a beautiful thing. What would life be if I could experience this all the time? I'm present. I can hear what you're saying. I'm not in my head. I'm actually listening to you. And I'm actually feeling connected. Jeez, there's so much potential here. Okay? So I want you to just take this in. I'm going to wrap it up here. What is the gentle approach? How can you just give yourself that compassion, that grace to make the incremental change? And I'm going to leave you with this, because you can be fearless. Just like my daughter. if you can, the saying is, if you can simplify to amplify. So if you can just simplify it down, gentleness, grace, incremental improvements, so that you can eventually be fearless. You can eventually have that expression. You can eventually not care what other people think. You can eventually, just have that self-esteem, not feel like you're going to be doing something wrong all the time. Even if you do make a mistake, you're not beating up on yourself. That way of being in the world. How can you start that gentleness and that compassion for yourself today? Today. How can you treat yourself today? Because remember, again, you're not going to get the personality, the expression, not caring what other people think by trying to hate yourself into it. You're going to get that by loving yourself, loving all aspects of yourself, embracing yourself fully, getting that secure base within you so that you can go out and explore and live your life fearlessly, just like my daughter. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it there. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this more kind of casual format, the coffee with Rubin. I hope you had a coffee and you got to sit and hang out and just get to know me on a more personal level. And I'm a little sick. I apologize too if my voice is a little bit, my voice is all muffled today. But I'm going to jump off there. I'm going to see you soon. I'm going to make more videos like this one. Let me know actually in the comments if you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments and I can keep making these types of videos as well. And I'm going to link up these other 2 videos as well. The 2 videos that I made on the exposures and the torturing and getting triggered again and trying to put yourself out there too much and what to do when you do get triggered again. I'm going to link those up right here. And I will see you soon. Get out there. Give yourself grace and compassion. And eventually you're going to be fearless. Eventually you're going to be living a life that you just never thought was possible. Just like me in that work meeting with that presence. It's possible. Trust me. I'll see you soon.